I've I've had a lot of people ask me this question. What kind of brain do you have? How come you do graphics and you can virtually use almost all the graphic softwares? And I'm like, okay, I can use Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator. I even edit sound with Adobe Auditions, and I do animations with Adobe After Effects, and even edit videos professionally with Adobe Premiere Pro. Some other person walked up to me some other time, and the person was like, you I know, yeah, you studied art and design, but come on, please just tell me, because I know you do ceramics, you did textiles, sculpture, and as a matter of fact, I actually did a project, a city size monument as a project while I was in school on sculpture. And not just about this, and you still do graphic design. And some other person said, not about that. Do you know he even does programming as well? And they're like, what? So you do okay? Yeah, I do front end programming, which is I do HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. I actually design with CSS. I mean, I do vector designs using CSS codes, pure CSS, nothing more. And it was so amazing to know that I do all of this stuff. That is not to say I don't have any area of specialization, but I had this interest of acquiring knowledge, learning, especially when it has to do with art and design. I had much interest about it, and I can do all of this stuff, put all of them together. As a matter of fact, there are more things I can practically do that has not been mentioned, like I've not talked about it in this video. Okay, so the question, was like, this group of people were like, come on, please, how did you do it? How did you do it? So okay, it's really not that funny anyway. But this is what I'm about telling you in this video. My name is Edo Udoma, and welcome to my YouTube channel. You know, like I used to say, the greatest limitation we have is what we think, how we think. What you think actually controls everything you do in life. So if you fix your mind in learning something new, really, you can do it anytime the brain learns something new. It changes physically. Neuroscience have scientifically proven that each time you learn something new, you synaptically create new connections. And each time you remember, you sustain those connections. Which means there is a very big difference between you just learning and you remembering. Remembering is the part that becomes very essential, because each time you listen to or learn something new, give it the next 2 days, you forget about 80% of those stuff you learned. Really, yeah, you forget about 80%. So how do you sustain learning so that, or such that you don't lose anyone? That is where repetition comes in. You have to practice, you have to repeat. Let me use myself for this illustration. I actually started from learning graphics. I learned Corel Draw first before I dived into learning Photoshop. And I didn't do this all in one day. That is the biggest mistake a lot of people do. They want to learn everything in 1 second. They want to learn everything in one day. That's not possible. Really, it's really not possible that you learn everything in 24 hours. So what I did was I had to take the learning step by step, one thing at a time. I learned Corel Draw. Really, I dedicated time into learning it, day and night. As a matter of fact, I had fixed time. I make sure I sit on my learning table on my computer and boom, learning begins. I practiced this for years before I started learning Adobe Photoshop. And while I was learning Photoshop, I was connecting the tools, I saw in Corel Draw, relating them with what I found in Photoshop, and I was like, really, Photoshop looks like Illustrator, although Illustrator is actually vector based and Photoshop is raster based. So and I tend to like connect the two of them together, and it has this kind of similarities in their tools. So and that is how I started. I dived into learning Photoshop, and after like about some other another year, I jumped into Illustrator, and I was still practicing Photoshop because if I have a project, let's say I want to design a logo, I use Adobe Illustrator because it's actually vector based. And subsequently, I had need to design magazines. The best thing I could figure out that will really give me what I wanted was Adobe InDesign. That was how I started learning InDesign. And this practice, they say, makes perfect. It's really true. Don't try to learn all of this in one day. That's not going to work. It doesn't work that way. So you take them bit by bit. And like I said, really, I did not mention everything. Like some things I've actually jumped into reading or learning about. But it will amaze you to know that just last year, 2020, I during the lockdown, I thought about learning something new. I thought about learning something new, and then I had a project. I had a project, designing, creating a mobile app, and I thought about it. I was like, no, this time around, I don't want to go into React because I'm not proficient with React. It will mean I'll need to have start calling friends, my friends that know how to use React very well. And I was just thinking, should I do hybrid, do use the JavaScript, HTML, and CSS and get done with it. But the project was more, the project requirements had more to it than just doing hybrid. So I thought of something. It's time to learn Flutter. That was how I dedicated my time during the lockdown. I was busy learning how to program with Flutter. I was learning that programming language. What I'm saying in essence is that when you fix your mind in doing something, never ever give up. Never give up. Make sure you read, make sure you set out time for practice, make sure you are consistent and you are open to learning. Ask questions. What you don't know, you ask questions. You just keep that consistency and don't try to multitask. Don't try to pick this one, and you won't get nothing. Take them one after another. The brain is one of the most amazing gifts that man has. We have not explored even 5% of it. Really, we have not explored 5% of what the brain can do. The brain can do more than you can imagine. Anytime you are subjected to learning, more neurons are connected, more neurons are produced. We have billions of neurons in the brain. Each time neurons are connected, it's actually more, even faster than all the cell phones put together in the world, you can imagine that your brain is that powerful and you're not making use of it. The body is just a container. Whatever you think in your mind, the body reacts according to what you think in your mind. So if you tell yourself, I want to learn I want to learn Photoshop today, your body has no choice than to just do that. This is how I did it. This is how I started. And today I'm being hired by top-notch companies. You can start from somewhere. You can start from somewhere. I'm running my own company, running Graphic Mall and Creative Styles. You can do even more. So this is how it all began. Thank you very much for watching. And please feel free, do well to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you could have notifications each time a new video from me is released every Friday. Catch you next week. And oh, okay, before I leave off, my Photoshop fans, I am starting Photoshop lessons finally. Finally, for those of you that want to learn how to design with Photoshop, check me out in my next video and you will have a sweet beginner course on how to learn how to use Photoshop.